Hey guys, I watched Suicide Room a few days ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I watched Suicide Room because I had just watched The Hater. I did a video about it like last week, The Hater, and I've been really interested in this director's work and like his past work, and obviously like I'm very interested in what he's gonna do going forward. I really like his I went on his IMDb and I saw that a lot of his movies are very like sort of like the stories are intertwined with the internet and like sort of like it's just old methods but with like new approaches on how things are done. I guess I could say like right now I'm watching Ultraviolet, which is pretty much a crime drama, but instead of it being like a detective in the police force, it's like a bunch of rogue people on the internet figuring out like murders and things. Really reminds me of the documentary Don't Fuck with Cats. It's a documentary where pretty much like the what's his name, like this cat killer who ended up killing an actual person. This Facebook group figures out who he is. Luca Magnotta, there you go. This person figures out who he is, and they figure out that he's gonna do, kill somebody before like the police figure it out. And Netflix has, the documentary on that story. It's a really big story in like the 2000s, I think. It might have been in the 2010s. I'm pretty sure it was in the 2000s, like early age internet. And yeah, it really reminds me of that. But anyway, Suicide Room. I'm gonna be doing a review on like an opinion piece on Ultraviolet when I finish the seasons too. It's also on Netflix, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, Suicide Room. So the premise of this movie is pretty much teenager. I believe he's in like it's a Polish film, so like I believe he's sort of in like the high school version of school of European school, Polish school in Poland. Yeah, he's pretty much in like the upper levels. He's about to graduate, and he's going through puberty too. And so he there's like he likes a guy. He's homosexual. Well, it's stated that he's homosexual. It's expressed that he's homosexual, and he likes a guy, and they have like this karate class together, and like he pretty much like ejaculates on himself while he's wrestling this guy, and it's really embarrassing. And he locks himself in his room, and he meets these people online who pretty much watch suicide videos and are very much about committing suicide. Um, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say right now. Spoilers ahead. If this movie sounds interesting to you, you should stop watching this right now and go and watch the movie, and then come back and watch this video because I'm about to spoil it. Anyway, um, the movie straight up like right from the get, it's sort of like edgy, like there's a lot of like sort of like rock music in it, and it's not just like rock music. It's not like, I wouldn't say, I guess it's emo rock, but I imagine like I've listened to a little bit of emo rock, and I guess this is I don't know, it sounds like emo rock if I were to, if I mean, it sounds like what I would listen to if I was into emo rock and I was in like high school. So it's pretty spot on, especially in like, I forget when this came out, but I'm pretty sure it was either in the early 2010s or the late 2000s. So Yeah, like the music choice, although like to me it's kind of edgy and like I wouldn't listen to it now, it's pretty spot on. And especially like I guess for Poland, like I don't know what's going on in Poland, what the music scene's like in Poland. But I think it's pretty spot on for the character choice, and especially for the time. So like I said, it's kind of edgy to me, but I mean it suits the movie. Um, and like there's also this guy's haircut, which is like to me kind of edgy. And he's like there's multiple times where he dresses all black, and like the film is trying to express that he's like like I said, he's like late high school, about to graduate, going through puberty, discovering himself, and he sort of embraces like the edginess, especially after he meets these people in the suicide room. He really like embraces that, and he does a lot of like kind of like embarrassing things, very cringe-worthy things. There's this one point where he admits to his family that he's homosexual in front of like a bunch of other people, like friends, like family friends. Really not family friends, more like his dad's boss. Yeah. And he's just like standing right next to like this beautiful girl, and it's obvious that she's interested in him, but he tells them that he's into guys, and they don't believe him, and so he demonstrates it by making out with a bust of a Roman head. That shit, it was hard to watch that shit. But anyway, yeah, there's that. I really liked how I this this director is, like I said, he's very much into the internet, very much into digital like expression and communication, and he did in The Hater too, where I'm guessing like this is where he like sort of like really started to experiment with this, but like he expresses a lot of the movie is spent inside this video game, and it's where a lot of the movie takes place, and it's where like half of the characters communicate with each other. I really like that he does that. I feel like it's a bit refreshing. A lot of the times, movies will use it as sort of like a gimmick, like it's happening a little bit, unless like the whole movie is sort of like about like say like Ready Player One, you know. Um, but like I like that like he uses it as sort of a way to express things that wouldn't you he uses it in a way that to express things that wouldn't be suitable to express in the real world. He did in The Hater where like there was this point where the character was mad and he just like killed a bunch of like grunts in this video game really like brutally, and the same thing happens in this movie where the character has expressions, and to get those expressions across even more, he's in this fantasy world with these other characters. Anyway, so yeah, these as the story progresses, the people in the room, especially like the main person, I forget what her name is, but she's pretty much manipulating. You figure out that she's manipulating this kid to get pills that he'll be prescribed, from saying that he's suicidal, from saying that he's depressed. At first, it doesn't come off like that, but like slowly you see that that's what she's doing, you know? And it's just like, I really like the fact that um, it's really diving into like the darkness of the internet, without being like super like, oh, like dark web type shit, because like you don't need to go on the dark web to find pretty awful shit. Like a lot of the scams and a lot of the manipulation and a lot of shitty things happen on like the clear net, and it's just from people who know the system, know human psychology, and are willing to use it in a manipulative way. And I'm just really glad that this director understands that you don't have to go all hacker to reveal like bad shit through the that happens on the internet. um but yeah, that's pretty much what the protagonist's friends are doing. And he pretty much locks himself in his room and begins to like rely on them for emotional, like, I guess, stability. And he I mean, he was doing this before the school humiliation, but the school humiliation sort of accelerated it to the point where he's literally just always in his room. um his mom, like, and it's also expressed that his mom and dad don't accept him for like who he is. Like, they gave him a lot of stuff. Like, he pretty much has everything that a kid would want, but at the same time, they don't. It's sort of like giving someone a bunch of stuff, but expecting them to act a certain way. You're giving them a bunch of stuff because you want them to be a certain person. But what happens when that person isn't? You gave them a bunch of stuff, but that person just isn't that person. Now you're mad at them for being something else, even though you gave them a bunch of stuff. Like, it's the parents are very much like, in a way, it's almost sort of like manipulative. It's not as manipulative as his virtual friends, but if you think about it, they're expecting him to be this person. They gave him all this stuff because he is their child, and but at the same time, um, you just shouldn't like expect someone to turn out a certain way just because you gave them a bunch of things, you know. And that's the kind of weird thing about this movie. Like, there's a sort of expression where I get there's a message where he's saying that the film is almost trying to say that people who are suicidal, who are severely depressed, who commit suicide, are people who are selfish and don't think about the other people they'll hurt, and that they're dependent on other, and at the same time, a lot of times they're dependent on other people. There's this whole monologue that he tells his psychiatrist when he gets a psychiatrist to get the pills. Yeah, there's this whole monologue about him pretty much saying that people who commit suicide are selfish. But at the same time, the movie illustrates this kid who is he is selfish, but he's not selfish because he's not selfish because he's just inherently selfish. It's more of like he's selfish, quote unquote selfish, because he's sort of gotten what he wanted all the time, and now there's something that he wants that his parents can't give him, and he's trying to figure out how to get that thing, how to make friends, how to like embrace himself, but it's like I say, it's sort of seen as a selfishness. It's just like a really confusing. I didn't really know what the film was trying to say. Like, are suicidal people selfish, or are are does are is depression are people led to depression because of certain situations, and the person that a person is. If that makes sense, it's sort of like, is it dependent on the person, or is it dependent on the situation? It doesn't really like give you a clear answer on that, which is kind of cool, but at the same time it's like completely opposite messages, and so it's hard to like say exactly how I feel about that. um in the beginning, like I said, the protagonist was gay. It's illustrated that he's gay, but at the same time, like halfway through the movie, where this girl is manipulating him from the internet, he's like having these fantasies about like he's having fantasies about her, and I'm like, like, it's said that he's gay, but I mean, he's having fantasies about this woman he's never met. Like, I understand that manipulation, when it gets to that, like, it can sort of transcend sexuality, but at the same time it's like, I wish that they had, like, instead of going with a girl, maybe just go with another guy, you know, to manipulate him, to make it seem more realistic. Like, he's gay, he's probably looking for other people who are sort of like him. He's looking for other people who are like him. Why not just make the manipulator get a guy who's gay? It would just make it a lot. It just would have made a lot more sense, and it would have been a lot clearer of a path. Um, Another thing that's a bit confusing about this movie. Um, yeah, but in the end, the movie is pretty much like, he gets the pills, but the parents cut off the internet connection, so he can't give the pills to his virtual friends, and so he gets like extremely depressed. He leaves his room for the first time in like a long ass time, and he takes the pills and he goes to this club, and he just like, downs the pills, make embarrasses himself on the internet, and then dies. And I've I'm realizing, I mean, like, seeing The Hater, I wasn't like surprised by this ending, because I get the feeling that this a lot of his movies, a lot of this director's movies are gonna end very darkly. Like, he's not someone who sugarcoats things, like, I was half expecting. I like how he sort of presents a an an ending. He presents like an ending that, like, a conventional ending. Like, there was a point where he could have gotten the pills, and he would have, like, you're sort of led to believe that he's gonna get the pills, he's gonna give them to these people, and then he's gonna excommunicate them. Like, he's just gonna go on with his life. But like, after the parents cut the internet off, it sort of goes into this downward spiral where it's like, oh, it's not gonna end like that. It's gonna end a lot worse. But even in the bar scene, I thought like he was going to maybe like, maybe get fucked up, you know, maybe make it an embarrassing video, and like eventually come back home. I didn't think he was gonna like die, but like at the same time, like I said, it didn't like surprise me. I thought the irony was pretty on point. He gets locked in his room because of a embarrassing thing that happened and gets spread on social media, and then he dies, and there's this embarrassing thing that happens that he gets filmed doing and gets spread on social media. Yeah, it's something else. um, I really like the ending when they went to like the manipulators. You see like his mom enters the virtual room as him, and like thanks because he explained to his parents that they were like family, like the people that he was hanging out with on the internet were like family. His mom gets on the virtual room and thanks them, and as she's thanking them, you see them dwindle, like you see them disappear. They log off because like they're realizing like what they've done. In the main manipulator, they transition to the only time you see them in person, and she just like runs out and just yells, into the sky. It's a thread um that that runs through his movies. I'm seeing, about the internet and how people do things on the internet, and these things have real world consequences, and some people just don't realize what some people just don't realize, like, I don't know, like, they don't realize like the potential consequences or the real life consequences of their actions until it's too late. The internet is like, the digital world doesn't seem real. So I feel there's a distance that is associated with it, but in reality, it affects the world very very drastically, and uh that's why I'm so attracted to this director's movies, because this is social media is a place where social media and the internet affect the world, and I'm not I haven't really seen a lot of movies where it expresses how these things affect the world. It's more like whenever you see it in a movie, it's more of like it's more of like a vessel for communication rather than like a tool that facilitates um like human like interaction. And I think like that's what really makes his films different. um that he really uses these virtual spaces as a place where things happen and then they have real world consequences, rather than something happening, it getting posted on social media, and then like something happens, but then like that's it with social media. Everything else is just real life. Like it's just pretty much an average movie. Social, like, the technology isn't really like a facilitator. It's more of just like a little like like almost like a gimmick almost in the movie. But yeah, like I thought it had like mixed messages. I like the vagueness of like movies, but like I don't know, I didn't really like this movie's vagueness because of how like opposite the messages were. I appreciate the ambition. I'm gonna keep on watching his movies. Like I said, I'm watching Ultraviolet right now. I'll probably get finished with that like by next week. Um, and yeah, if there's anything else that this director's made that's not on IMDb, you can comment it below. If you want me to, give my thoughts about anything else, comment below. Give me any suggestions, books, movies, just topics, music. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna try to like make a video every day now. I can't wait till get a good um computer so I can edit these things and make them a little bit more efficient for you all, and make them, a little cleaner, a little more entertaining. But thank you for watching.